Hello and welcome again to Not Fake News. We have 3 different articles we're going to be going through, and the first one is Latinos plan day without immigrants, boycott to protest Trump's immigration agenda. And the next story we'll discuss is scammers using ICE raids to rob immigrants. That's pretty bad. And finally, the Arizona lets death row inmates bring their own lethal injection drugs to executions. So we're going to start off here. Again, I really got to get rid of that. Latinos plan day without immigrants. Boycott to protest Trump's inauguration agenda. So, a day without immigrants, what would that be like? Right? Oops, I'm sorry. What the? I'm really, really sorry. Oh, wait. What is going on here? Okay. Alrighty. There we go. Latinos plan a day without immigrants boycott to protest Trump's inauguration. Latinos' business plan to choose workers to work off their jobs and children to stay away from school during a nationwide one-day boycott to protest Donald Trump administration's anti-immigration agenda. From Iowa to New York to Texas to Wisconsin to Washington, D.C., Latinos will stage a countrywide Day Without Immigrants boycott on Thursday. The idea sparked over the weekend when the efforts of mass arrests in cities across the U.S. started to ripple through the immigrant communities. In Iowa, more than 70 Latino-owned businesses in Des Moines area have pledged support for the boycott and plan to close on Thursday. One day is not going to be a big deal, but once they start deporting immigrants, it's going to start making a difference, Juan Rodriguez, a Colombian immigrant and U.S. citizen, said. He will shut down his 3 businesses Thursday, reported the Des Moines Register. Businesses will be closing. Mortgages won't be paid. The economy is going to start slowing down. And this is the boycott, a Day Without Immigrants boycott. All undocumented residents, citizens, immigrants from all over the world, do not attend work, do not open up your business, do not shop online or in stores, do not eat at restaurants, do not buy gas, do not attend class, skip school, and do not send children to school. To our president, without us and our contribution, this country is paralyzed. Pass it on. We might lose a day of work, but we will win so much more. That's what she said. Then you got a few tweets here from a lady who has a so this lady who has a bakery, and she'll be closed. And she says, don't consume, don't go to work. You can help make a difference. Right? Instead of working or spending hundreds of people will march to Iowa's Capitol and have asked marchers to bring only U.S. flags. Organizers said they expect the closure of local restaurants, salons, laundromats, ice cream and pastry stores, insurance, and construction businesses. With this absence, we hope they notice our presence. Manuel Galvez, editor of El Treque, a Spanish-language newspaper in Iowa, and a march spokesman, told the Des Moines Register. In Washington, D.C., restaurant owners are reportedly scrambling to get employees' headcount before the march there on Thursday, according to Washingtonation, or whatever that is. List of D.C. restaurants closing or standing in solidarity with, so it's at a Day Without Immigrants to find the list. On Monday, Department of Homeland Security John Kelly said more than 680 people were arrested during a series of raids across multiple U.S. states. Officials said 75% of those arrested had prior convictions. So not only were they illegal immigrants, they were also criminal illegals. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, officers in Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, San Antonio, and New York were responsible for arrests of individuals who posed a threat to public safety, border security, or the integrity of the nation's immigration system, Kelly said. On Thursday, New Yorkers will rally in Folly Square for Daniel Ramirez's release on Thursday evening outside the Department of Homeland Security building. Medina was detained when ICE conducted a raid last Friday seeking to arrest his father, a felon who had previously been deported. During the raid, ICE officials arrested Mr. Ramirez, whom they claimed was a self-admitted gang member. The rally, organized by immigration rights group Make the Road by Walking, argues that ICE rapids are targeting everyone and tearing up families. Yeah, that's what they always say. That's their go-to. Oh, they're tearing up families. No, they're criminals, and they should have thought about their families before they did anything illegal. The 23-year-old has been held in the Northwest Detention Center in Tacoma since his arrest to await the outcome of removal procedures. ICE Northwest spokeswoman Rose Richardson told the Seattle Times. Ramirez was considered a risk to public safety. Look, you said he's a gang member, and you can't let him back in. And if you do, then everyone will do this, and we won't have peace. You must make an example. I'm sorry. He is the example. What can I say? Okay. Immigrants' rights group have denounced Ramirez's arrest and said that it's the latest evidence that President Trump is trying to make a good on his promises to oust illegal immigrants from the country. Daniel must be given his freedom now, said Gregis Martinez, advocacy for director at United We Dream. Keep dreaming. Under Trump's America, no one is safe, she says. Donald Trump and Republicans must say in no uncircumstances terms that DACA recipients are safe. Ramirez's lawsuit, which filed in federal court on Monday, seeks that his immediate release and injunction forbidding the government from arresting him again. And the lawsuit argues the government violated the constitutional rights because he has work authorization under the DACA program. All right. Next story. Scammers using ICE raids to rob immigrants. What the heck's that about? Just take a quick peek. Boom, 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 boom. We got a video. Okay. So, the surge of raids by U.S. immigration agents has given birth to a new breed of con artists, immigration scammers. People posing as law enforcement agents have reportedly been demanding money from immigrants, claiming failure to do so will result in deportation. In the confusion and fear surrounding the recent spike in raids by immigration, the Customs Enforcement Agent ICE, New York Attorney General ICE Eric Schneiderman warned immigrants to be on the lookout for scammers posing as ICE agents demanding money in exchange for not being deported. 23-year-old at #DACA recipient unlawfully detained by ICE complaint. Okay, they just threw that in there for no reason. In a fraud alert published on Wednesday, Schneiderman wrote that his office has received numbers of reports of unsolicited calls or in-person inquiries from fake immigration officials. The statement said that the man living in Queens was approached by 4 men presenting themselves as ICE agents. And living in Queens, I would have never have thought that for some reason. The fake ICE agents told the man that he would be deported unless he gave all of them the cash. The man handed over $250 according to the Newsday. It is unconstitutional for a scam artist to prey on heightened fear in our immigrant communities by pretending to be ICE officers and demanding that families pay up to avoid immediate deportation, said Schneiderman. He also wrote that ICE agents cannot ask for money. Of course they can't. Jesus. I mean, they're illegal immigrants. They're not crazy-minded. Okay, the alert also mentioned similar scams that were delivered via text messages and phone calls. In addition, the fraud alerts made a point of mentioning fake legal services, particularly notario scams, which target Latin Americans. The scam relies on the cultural misunderstanding between the Notario Republico and a notary republic. The scam relies on the cultural misunderstanding between a Notario Republico and the Notary Republic. In many Latin countries and some European states, notarios are legal representatives. However, in the United States, a Notary Republic only has the power to certify documents and other minor legal services, such as taking advocates and depositions. The mistranslation has allowed some unscrupulous notaries to take advantage of the immigrants by charging excessive application fees without ever submitting applications to the immigration authorities, or may induce deportation by submitting applications for relief for which the immigrant is not eligible for and did not request. So let's take a quick look at what this is.
Juicy fruit and healthy veg. Farms in the US state of Florida certainly keep food on the table. But the everyday reality of some of the workers there is perhaps enough to put you right off your dinner. RT's Maria Fanoshna went to investigate.
Florida's agriculture brings billions of dollars to the country's economy annually. But the Sunshine State's pride hides a secret. Those who forge this fortune seem to pay a very high price.
We don't always get water. If you want drinking water, because water they give us, they have pesticides.
Ophelia worked at a large nursery where dangerous chemicals were used. Months later, her kidneys failed and she had to quit. She's illegal here, like more than half of all farm workers in the United States. Growers and labor unions think it could even be as high as 70%. Elvira from Florida's Workers' Rights Association says women are especially vulnerable.
We believe 70 to 80% of female workers at nurseries are sexually abused.
Emma, which is not her real name, told me she was harassed by supervisors on the farm where she worked.
Te dije que de mí te vas a acordar. Te voy a hacer la vida imposible. Yo dije, usted no tiene madre. Consigue lo que quiere y las bota como perro y agarra más y más.
How did we get from, scamming some immigrants to rape on a farm? What? Okay, we were talking about all kinds of scams that are happening to them in general. Okay, look, how much longer we got? Okay, it's very short.
46-year-old Mexican left that job months ago, but she still cries when she remembers what she endured.
Yo lo que quiero que ella haga algo, que no abusen de nosotros. Nosotros necesitamos el trabajo. Tenemos familia.
This is one of many farmers markets here in Florida. We offer you the chance to speak directly to farms representatives to learn more about how all this was grown and where. But some of the stories behind the agricultural wealth this Sunshine State is so proud of will likely remain unspoken forever. Maria Fanoshna, RT from Florida in the USA.
Okay, well that's terrible and it shouldn't be happening to them, of course. But it was just a thought that I was thinking was, if these illegals would become citizens, they could demand more pay. And if they all were preached to, well, not preached to, but told, like if they had advocates, if they had Spanish advocates or whatever, nationality advocates telling them, trying to get them to become legally, like while they're there, you're legal, okay, start the paperwork, let's go, and push them a little bit. Everyone got to be pushed a little bit. They work and they start. They don't, they get in the they just keep working every day. They don't really think, oh, let me go. They have to do that. They have to become legal. It's better for them. Other scammers just lie about being lawyers, take money from immigrants, and then run. Immigrants who are victims of these kind of rackets should contact an Attorney General's Administration Services Fraud Unit hotline. Advise Schneiderman. No one who calls the hotline will be asked to disclose their status in the U.S. That's cool. I mean, if you're being hurt, that's fine. Next thing you know, Sheriff Clark opens the door. He's like, hello. All right. Next story. Arizona lets death row inmates bring their own lethal injection drugs to executions. How nice. BYO. I'm a little old, so I don't know what that is. Buy your whatever. BYO is often seen on invitations asking people to bring your own booze. Got it. But it's But it's unusual for the practice to be applied to the death row arena. Arizona has done just that. However, requesting inmates up for execution to bring their own lethal injection drugs. There is a death of lethal injection drugs in the United States after the European Union banned the export of medication used in capital punishment to the U.S., citing it is violation of the EU Torture Regulation 2012. Since then, states have reported using different drug cocktails for the procedure. When that fails, they have fallen back on the outdated methods like the electric chair or the firing squad. What's so hard to lethally inject someone? Like, put them right out. Put them to sleep first, and, what's so hard? This is like a thing? Arizona, however, appears to be more creative in its approach for obtaining either of two barbiturates, pentobarbital or fenpentyl. It updated its protocols last month, in part as a response to running out of death penalty drugs. What they're worried about. The state says the attorneys for death row inmates can bring their own lethal injection drugs if they want. Hey, bring your own drugs day. If the inmates' counsel or other third parties acting on behalf of the inmates' counsel are able to obtain from a certified or licensed pharmacist, pharmacy, compound pharmacy, manufacturer, or supplier, a sedative, Panadol, blah, 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 or an anesthetic, sodium pentothal that can be used, then they can provide the department with those drugs. Corrections Director Charles Ryan will still have sole discretion as to which drug protocol they will be used in the scheduled execution, the document said. There's just one problem with this plan. This is bizarre notion that calls for the actions that are both illegal and impossible. Dale Biach of the Federal Public Defender's Office in Arizona told the Arizona public a prisoner or prisoner's lawyer cannot legally obtain these drugs or legally transfer them to the department, he added. Under the Federal Controlled Substances Act, we cannot imagine a way to obtain the drug. Those that obtain controlled substances illegally go to prison. Megan McCracken, a legal injectionist expert on the University of California Berkeley School of Law, has a similar assessment. The clause is unprecedented, wholly novel, and frankly absurd. A prisoner or a prisoner's lawyer simply cannot obtain these drugs legally or legally transfer them in the Department of Corrections, so it's hard for them to fathom what the Arizona Department was thinking in including this nonsensical provision of part of its execution protocol, she said to The Guardian, and added, duh, at the end. Arizona also is familiar with trying to obtain legal injection drugs illegally. Arizona already is familiar with trying to obtain legal injection drugs illegally. Wow, like they're known for it. Arizona, you. In October 2015, U.S. federal agents intercepted a package of sodium pentothal trying to be smuggled in, worth nearly $27,000, that the Grand Canyon State was trying to import from an unidentified supplier in India, which had not been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA. The state put executions on hold in 2014 after a botched procedure condemned as torture. In that case, the execution administered a total of 15 doses of a new drug cocktail made up of midazolam and anesthetic and hydromorphone, a painkiller, and convicted killer Joseph Wood remained alive for 2 hours after the first injection. Even before Wood's botched execution, however, the drug cocktail in his case and the method of administrating made national headlines because of the Supreme Court overruled the stay of execution. So, like, wow, like now you're filled with death drugs, and the judge says, "Don't worry, you got to stay." So now what? The decision overruled the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which happens a lot, I heard, with them, and which agreed with the arguments put forth by Wood's lawyers that he had a First Amendment right to know that the source of the drugs that would be used to execute him, and that they also deemed to know the qualifications of his executioners. The Supreme Court did not address the First Amendment concerns in that case. Whoa. Like, here's my thought after all that. They're worried about, people like this and how they're going to die. But what about regular everyday Americans who are so old and really just don't want to live anymore, and they're just stuck in a bed or whatever it is, and maybe they don't want to live. I'm like on the line there when it comes to like just letting them do what they want to do. Mentally, if they were all there and they got a good reason, make them write a big long essay, and if the essay's good, then grant it to them. Let's hear why. Throw a lie detector on there, and while you're taking him, just to make sure he's not doing it to help somebody or for some crazy reason. I don't know. Is the guy nuts? Is he insane? Does he want to kill himself? Is he a nut job? And maybe if someone wants to kill himself, we should let them. Shit. Excuse my language. So, but that's it, and I hope you enjoyed the 3 articles there. Share this, get the word out. You are the resistance, and I appreciate if you could like the video. It's important to us, and it helps keep us going. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please subscribe. We do a lot of politics. That's mainly what we do, with a little bit of fun. Thanks for checking us out. I'll see you next time on your real news channel, Not Fake News.